Chapter 1: The Feud. In the bustling and vibrant city of Verona, two noble families, the Capulets and the Montagues, are embroiled in a bitter and deep-seated feud that has spanned generations. The origins of their animosity are long forgotten, but the consequences of their hatred are ever present, casting a shadow over the entire city. The feud frequently disrupts the peace, leading to violent skirmishes and brawls in the streets, involving not just the family members but also their servants and supporters. This ongoing conflict sows discord and enmity throughout Verona, with even the city's ruler, Prince Aeschylus, growing weary of the constant turmoil. Amidst this backdrop of hostility, the young Romeo Montague is introduced. Romeo, unlike many of his kinsmen who are eager to engage in the family feud, is melancholic and introspective. He is deeply troubled, not by the feud, but by his unrequited love for a woman named Rosaline. Rosaline, sworn to chastity, does not return Romeo's affections, plunging him into a state of despair. His days are filled with sorrow, and he often isolates himself, wandering the city or confining himself to his room, pining for a love that seems unattainable. Romeo's cousin, Benvolio, concerned for his friend's well-being, tries to lift his spirits. Benvolio is a peacemaker by nature, always seeking to avoid conflict and bring about harmony. He spends his time trying to understand Romeo's feelings and offer him comfort. Despite his efforts, Benvolio's attempts to cheer up Romeo are largely in vain. Romeo's closest friend, Mercutio, also plays a significant role in his life. Mercutio is witty, lively, and often irreverent, providing a stark contrast to Romeo's somber demeanor. His sharp wit and vibrant personality often provide a temporary distraction for Romeo from his heartache. While Romeo grapples with his unrequited love, preparations are underway at the Capulet household for a grand masquerade ball. The Capulets are one of the wealthiest and most influential families in Verona, and their events are always the talk of the town. This ball is particularly significant, as it is not only a social event but also an opportunity for Juliet Capulet, the young and beautiful daughter of Lord Capulet, to meet potential suitors. Juliet is a bright and obedient girl, still innocent and sheltered from the full extent of her family's enmity with the Montagues. The anticipation builds as the Capulet mansion is adorned with decorations, and servants scurry about to ensure everything is perfect. Lady Capulet, Juliet's mother, is especially excited, seeing this as a chance to introduce Juliet to Paris, a wealthy and noble young man who has shown interest in marrying her. Paris is seen as an ideal match by the Capulet family, and they hope that the ball will mark the beginning of a prosperous union. Despite the tension between the families, Romeo's friends, particularly Mercutio and Benvolio, persuade him to attend the Capulet ball. They argue that the distraction might help him forget Rosaline, and the masquerade offers the perfect cover for their presence. Initially reluctant, Romeo eventually agrees, hoping at least to catch a glimpse of Rosaline among the guests. His decision is driven by a mix of desperation and curiosity, as he is unaware that this seemingly innocent choice will set in motion a series of events that will change his life forever. As the night of the ball arrives, the streets of Verona are alive with excitement. The Capulet mansion, illuminated by torches and filled with music, becomes a focal point of the city's social scene. Guests arrive in elaborate costumes and masks, adding an air of mystery and enchantment to the festivities. Amidst this splendor, Romeo, Benvolio, and Mercutio make their way to the ball, their hearts pounding with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Little do they know, this night will be the beginning of a dramatic and tragic tale that will forever alter the lives of the Montagues and Capulets, and indeed, the entire city of Verona. Chapter 2: Love at First Sight. As twilight falls over Verona, the Capulet mansion becomes a beacon of light and sound. The grand ballroom is lavishly decorated, with elegant tapestries draping the walls and chandeliers casting a warm, inviting glow. The air is filled with the melodies of musicians and the laughter of guests, creating an atmosphere of gaiety and celebration. The Capulet Masquerade Ball, an event eagerly anticipated by all of Verona's nobility, is in full swing. In the midst of this revelry, Romeo, Benvolio, and Mercutio make their entrance, their faces concealed by elaborate masks. The anonymity provided by their disguises allows them to move freely among the guests, avoiding detection despite their Montague lineage. For Romeo, the vibrant energy of the ball offers a temporary respite from his melancholy thoughts of Rosaline. As Romeo meanders through the throngs of costumed guests, his eyes are suddenly drawn to a young woman standing across the room. Juliet Capulet, dressed in a radiant gown and adorned with delicate jewelry, appears almost ethereal. Her beauty strikes Romeo like a lightning bolt, and he is instantly captivated. The sight of her renders him momentarily speechless, his heart racing with a sensation he has never felt before. Juliet, though unaware of Romeo's presence, is similarly struck when their eyes finally meet. In that instant, the crowded ballroom and the noise of the festivities seem to fade away, leaving only the two of them, gazing at each other with a sense of wonder. Neither can look away, as if some unseen force binds them together. Summoning his courage, Romeo approaches Juliet. Their initial conversation, though brief, is charged with a profound sense of connection. They exchange words of mutual admiration and playful banter, speaking in a poetic language that reflects the depth of their immediate bond. Romeo speaks of Juliet's beauty in terms of light and divinity, comparing her to a saint, while Juliet responds with an equal measure of grace and wit. Their dialogue is both tender and profound, filled with a shared sense of destiny. As they speak, they touch hands, and this simple act sends a thrill through both of them, cementing their attraction. The chemistry between them is undeniable, and it is clear that their meeting is no ordinary encounter. However, their budding romance is abruptly interrupted. Tybalt, Juliet's fiery and hot-tempered cousin, recognizes Romeo's voice and is incensed to see a Montague at the Capulet ball. Furious, Tybalt is ready to draw his sword and confront Romeo, but Lord Capulet intervenes. Not wanting to disrupt the celebration or incur the wrath of Prince Aeschylus, who has decreed death for those who further disturb the peace, Capulet restrains Tybalt and insists that Romeo be left alone for the night. Despite this brief reprieve, the encounter leaves a cloud of tension over Romeo and Juliet. It is during this moment of conflict that Juliet is pulled away by her nurse, who reveals to her Romeo's true identity. Shocked and dismayed, Juliet learns that the enchanting stranger with whom she has shared such an intimate connection is none other than a Montague, a member of the family she has been taught to despise. Similarly, Romeo is informed by the nurse that Juliet is a Capulet. This revelation fills him with a sense of foreboding, as he realizes the gravity of their situation. The names Montague and Capulet are synonymous with enmity and bloodshed, and their love, though powerful and pure, is tainted by the legacy of their family's feud. Despite the daunting reality of their circumstances, Romeo and Juliet's feelings for each other remain undiminished. The intensity of their connection transcends the bitter feud, and they are determined to pursue their newfound love, regardless of the consequences. Their hearts, having recognized each other in an instant, refuse to be swayed by the enmity that surrounds them. As the night progresses and the ball begins to wind down, Romeo and Juliet exchange a final, longing glance, each silently vowing to find a way to be together. Their love, born in the midst of a festive masquerade, is destined to face many challenges, but for now, it is enough that they have found each other. The path ahead is uncertain and fraught with danger, but they are united in their resolve to defy the hatred that divides their families, and to cherish the love that has brought them together. Chapter 3: The Secret Union. Determined to defy the barriers imposed by their feuding families, Romeo and Juliet embark on a perilous journey to unite their hearts in secret. Their love, forbidden by society and fraught with danger, becomes a beacon of hope amidst the darkness of Verona's ancient grudge. With hearts aflame and spirits unwavering, Romeo and Juliet seek the guidance of Friar Lawrence, a revered figure in Verona known for his wisdom and compassion. Despite the risks involved, the friar sees the purity of their love and agrees to help them in their quest for union. He believes that their marriage might serve as a catalyst for reconciliation between the Capulets and Montagues, bringing an end to the cycle of violence that has plagued the city for generations. Under the cover of darkness, Romeo and Juliet steal away to the modest confines of Friar Lawrence's cell, where they are to be wed. The solemnity of the occasion is palpable, as the young lovers stand before the friar, their hands clasped in a fervent embrace. In the presence of a witness and with solemn vows exchanged, Romeo and Juliet become husband and wife, bound together by the unbreakable bonds of love. As they emerge from the sanctuary of the church, the first rays of dawn illuminate the sky, casting a soft glow over the city of Verona. For Romeo and Juliet, this new day symbolizes a fresh beginning, a chance to rewrite the destiny that has been thrust upon them. They are now bound by a sacred union, one that transcends the barriers of class, wealth, and family allegiance. Yet, their joy is tempered by the harsh reality of their circumstances. The secrecy of their marriage weighs heavily upon them, as they are forced to navigate the treacherous waters of deception and subterfuge. Aware of the dangers that surround them, Romeo and Juliet vow to keep their love hidden from prying eyes, relying on the trusted counsel of Friar Lawrence to guide them through the challenges that lie ahead. In their clandestine meetings, Juliet's nurse emerges as a key ally, her loyalty to Juliet unwavering despite the risks involved. Acting as a clandestine messenger, the nurse facilitates secret rendezvous between the young lovers, allowing them to steal precious moments of togetherness amidst the chaos of their divided world. Through her discreet efforts, the nurse becomes a lifeline for Romeo and Juliet, offering them solace and support in their time of need. As they navigate the complexities of their forbidden love, Romeo and Juliet find strength in each other's arms, drawing courage from the knowledge that their bond is unbreakable. Though their path is fraught with peril, they are determined to defy the odds and carve out a future together, guided by the timeless promise of love's enduring power. And so, amidst the shadows of Verona's ancient feud, Romeo and Juliet embark on a journey of love and sacrifice, their hearts united in a secret union that will forever alter the course of their lives. As they stand on the precipice of an uncertain future, they cling to the hope that their love will triumph over adversity, transcending the barriers that threaten to tear them apart. Chapter 4: A Deadly Encounter. The simmering tensions between the Montagues and Capulets reach a boiling point as Verona becomes a powder keg of animosity and resentment. The air crackles with the promise of violence, and the city teeters on the edge of chaos. At the heart of the conflict lies Tybalt, Juliet's hot-headed cousin, whose fury knows no bounds. Still seething from Romeo's uninvited presence at the Capulet ball, Tybalt is determined to confront him and exact revenge for the perceived insult to his family's honor. Unbeknownst to Tybalt, Romeo, now secretly his kinsman by marriage, seeks to avoid further bloodshed, knowing the dire consequences that await him should he succumb to the temptation of violence. But fate, as ever, has other plans. As Romeo walks the streets of Verona, his mind heavy with thoughts of Juliet, he encounters Tybalt, his nemesis, who confronts him with a ferocity born of pride and anger. Romeo, ever the peacemaker, attempts to reason with Tybalt, pleading for calm and reconciliation. But Tybalt's rage is unrelenting, and he refuses to be swayed by reason or compassion. Enter Mercutio, Romeo's fiery and impetuous friend, whose loyalty knows no bounds. Sensing the imminent threat posed by Tybalt, Mercutio steps forward to defend his friend's honor, engaging Tybalt in a deadly duel that echoes with the clang of steel on steel. The two adversaries circle each other like predators, their eyes ablaze with hatred and determination. The duel reaches a tragic crescendo as Mercutio, caught in the heat of battle, is struck down by Tybalt's blade. A hush falls over the crowded streets as Mercutio falls to the ground, his lifeblood staining the cobblestones crimson. The shock of his death reverberates through Verona, casting a pall of sorrow over the city. Enraged by the senseless loss of his friend, Romeo is consumed by a fierce desire for vengeance. In a fit of fury, he confronts Tybalt, their swords clashing in a deadly dance of death. The streets of Verona become a battleground as the two adversaries fight with a ferocity born of desperation and despair. In the end, it is Romeo who emerges victorious, his blade stained with Tybalt's blood. But the taste of victory is bitter on his tongue, for he knows that his actions have sealed his fate. With Tybalt's death, Romeo has become a fugitive in the eyes of the law, his banishment from Verona decreed by the prince in a desperate bid to quell the violence that threatens to tear the city apart. As Romeo flees into the night, his heart heavy with guilt and remorse, he knows that he can never return to the city that was once his home. His love for Juliet, once a source of solace and joy, has now become a curse, condemning him to a life of exile and loneliness. And as Verona mourns the loss of yet another victim of its ancient feud, the echoes of Romeo and Tybalt's deadly encounter reverberate through the streets, a haunting reminder of the cost of hatred and revenge. Chapter 5: The Plan. As Verona mourns the fallout from the deadly encounter between Tybalt and Mercutio, Romeo finds himself torn apart by grief and longing. With his heart shattered and his spirit in turmoil, he flees the city, seeking refuge in the distant sanctuary of Mantua. But even as he seeks solace in the quiet solitude of exile, his thoughts remain consumed by one overwhelming desire: to be reunited with his beloved Juliet. Meanwhile, back in Verona, Juliet is overcome by despair at the thought of being separated from Romeo. Her heart aches with longing, and her mind races with desperate thoughts of how to be with him once more. In her darkest hour, she turns to the one person she trusts above all others, Friar Lawrence. With wisdom born of years of devotion and service, Friar Lawrence devises a daring plan to reunite the star-crossed lovers. Recognizing the urgency of their plight, he proposes a risky gambit that will test the limits of their courage and resolve. Juliet will take a potion, brewed from rare and potent herbs, that will induce a death-like slumber lasting 42 hours. During this time, she will be entombed in the Capulet family crypt, where Romeo will be able to find her and awaken her from her seeming death. The plan is fraught with peril, for if Juliet is discovered before Romeo can reach her, she will be buried alive, condemned to a fate worse than death. But the urgency of their love outweighs the risks, and Juliet resolves to follow Friar Lawrence's counsel, trusting in his wisdom and guidance. Under the cover of darkness, Juliet steals away to the sanctuary of Friar Lawrence's cell, where the potion awaits her. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with trepidation, she drinks the elixir, feeling its effects coursing through her veins like a potent tide. As she falls into a deep and dreamless sleep, she clings to the hope that Romeo will come for her, that their love will conquer even death itself. Meanwhile, in Mantua, Romeo receives word of Friar Lawrence's plan and resolves to return to Verona without delay. With his heart aflame with love and determination, he embarks on the perilous journey back to the city that holds both his salvation and his damnation. Through the darkness of the night and the treacherous terrain of the road, he presses forward, driven by a single-minded purpose, to be reunited with Juliet, no matter the cost. And so, as Juliet lies in her death-like slumber, and Romeo races against time to reach her side, the stage is set for the final act in their tragic tale. For in the heart of Verona, where love and death intertwine like threads in a tapestry of fate, the destiny of the star-crossed lovers hangs in the balance, poised on the brink of eternity. Chapter 6: A Miscommunication. As the wheels of fate continue to turn, a tragic twist of miscommunication sets in motion a chain of events that will seal the fate of Romeo and Juliet. Friar Lawrence, ever vigilant in his efforts to reunite the young lovers, dispatches a trusted messenger to Mantua with urgent news for Romeo. The messenger, bearing the weight of his mission, sets out on the long and perilous journey, his heart heavy with the knowledge of the fate that hangs in the balance. But fate, capricious and cruel, intervenes with a cruel twist of irony. As the messenger travels through the rugged terrain, beset by the dangers of the road, he is beset by bandits who lay in wait to ambush unsuspecting travelers. In the chaos and confusion that ensues, the message entrusted to him by Friar Lawrence is lost, torn from his grasp by the hands of fate and scattered to the winds. Meanwhile, in Mantua, Romeo waits with bated breath for news from Verona, his heart aching with longing for his beloved Juliet. Days pass, and still, no word comes. Desperation gnaws at his soul, and he grows increasingly anxious, haunted by visions of doom and despair. And then, like a harbinger of tragedy, Balthasar, Romeo's loyal servant, arrives with news that strikes like a thunderbolt from the heavens. With tear-stained eyes and a voice choked with grief, Balthasar delivers the devastating tidings: Juliet is dead. For Romeo, the world comes crashing down around him in that moment of despair. His beloved Juliet, the light of his life and the beacon of his hope, is lost to him forever. In the depths of his anguish, he resolves to join her in death, to escape the agony of life without her by his side. With a heavy heart and a soul burdened by sorrow, Romeo procures a vial of poison, its lethal contents a bitter elixir of despair. With each step he takes, the weight of his grief grows heavier, dragging him inexorably toward his final destination. And so, with the shadows of night as his only witness, Romeo sets out on the long and lonely journey back to Verona, his mind consumed by thoughts of Juliet and the solace that awaits him in death. For in his heart, he knows that without her, life holds no meaning, no purpose, no hope. As he makes his way through the silent streets of Verona, the city sleeps unaware of the tragedy that unfolds within its walls. And in the darkness of the night, Romeo draws ever closer to the tomb where Juliet lies, his soul aflame with the fires of a love that knows no bounds, no limits, no end. Chapter 7: The Tragic Conclusion. Verona lay shrouded in darkness as Romeo, with a heart heavy with grief, finally arrives at the entrance to the Capulet tomb. His footsteps echo in the silence, a mournful dirge accompanying him on his journey of sorrow. There, he finds Paris, standing sentinel over Juliet's lifeless form, his sorrow palpable in the dim light. A confrontation ensues between Romeo and Paris, the tension thick as the night air. Paris, mourning the loss of his beloved Juliet, sees Romeo as an intruder, a threat to her memory. But Romeo, consumed by his own grief and longing, has no words to offer, only the desperation of a man driven to the brink of madness by love and loss. In the struggle that follows, Paris falls, his life extinguished in an instant, leaving Romeo to enter the tomb alone. Inside, amidst the oppressive darkness and the solemn silence, Romeo beholds Juliet lying motionless upon a bier, her beauty undiminished by death's cold embrace. With tears streaming down his face, Romeo approaches Juliet, his heart breaking at the sight of her lifeless form. He caresses her cheek with trembling hands, whispering words of love and regret into the void. And then, with a resolve born of desperation, he uncorks the vial of poison he carries with him, knowing that death is the only way to be with his beloved once more. As the poison takes hold and darkness closes in around him, Romeo's final thoughts are of Juliet, his soulmate, his truest love. With a sigh that echoes through the tomb, he falls to the ground, his life slipping away like sand through an hourglass. Moments later, Juliet awakens to find Romeo dead beside her, his lifeless eyes staring into the void. In that moment, the full weight of her grief crashes down upon her, threatening to suffocate her with its intensity. With a trembling hand, she reaches out to touch his face, feeling the coldness of death that now separates them forever. In utter despair, Juliet takes up Romeo's dagger, its blade glinting in the faint light of the tomb. With a heart heavy with sorrow, she raises the dagger to her breast and plunges it deep into her heart, her final act of love and defiance against a world that has conspired to tear them apart. As the life ebbs from her body, Juliet's final thoughts are of Romeo, her beloved husband, her soulmate. And then, with a sigh that echoes through the tomb, she joins him in death, their spirits forever entwined in a love that transcends the boundaries of time and space. In the wake of their tragic deaths, the city of Verona is plunged into mourning, the echoes of their love reverberating through the streets like a lament. And yet, amidst the sorrow and the grief, there is also a glimmer of hope, a flicker of light in the darkness. For in their deaths, Romeo and Juliet have finally brought the Capulets and Montagues to their senses, their love serving as a beacon of hope in a world torn apart by hatred and strife. United in their grief, the feuding families vow to end their feud once and for all, to bury their grievances and embrace a future of peace and reconciliation. And so, in the heart of Verona, statues are erected in honor of Romeo and Juliet, their love immortalized for all eternity. And as the city mourns their passing, a new dawn rises on the horizon, heralding a future filled with promise and possibility, where love triumphs over hate and hope conquers despair. Chapter 8: Reconciliation. Verona, a city steeped in the shadows of tragedy, finds itself at a crossroads in the aftermath of Romeo and Juliet's untimely deaths. The loss of the star-crossed lovers serves as a wake-up call, a harsh reminder of the consequences of unchecked animosity and senseless violence. As the city mourns, its streets adorned with somber veils of grief, the Capulets and Montagues, once bitter enemies locked in a cycle of vendetta, stand united in a shared sorrow. At the graveside of Romeo and Juliet, their hearts heavy with regret, they come face to face with the devastating toll of their long-standing feud. Prince Aeschylus, the steadfast guardian of Verona's peace, recognizes the opportunity presented by this moment of collective mourning. With wisdom born of experience and compassion forged in the crucible of tragedy, he summons the heads of the warring families, along with other influential figures of the city, to a meeting in the town square. There, amidst the solemn atmosphere, Prince Aeschylus delivers a speech that resonates with the weight of his authority and the depth of his empathy. With words that cut through the silence like a clarion call, he implores the assembled crowd to set aside their grievances and embrace the path of reconciliation. His words, imbued with the gravity of their shared loss, strike a chord in the hearts of all who hear them. The Capulets and Montagues, their faces etched with sorrow and regret, find themselves moved by the prince's impassioned plea. In a moment of collective catharsis, they embrace each other, tears mingling with forgiveness, as they vow to honor the memory of Romeo and Juliet by forging a new path forward. And so, amidst the grief-stricken streets of Verona, a transformation begins to take shape. Old animosities and grudges, once thought insurmountable, give way to a newfound spirit of unity and cooperation. The Capulets and Montagues, bound by the shared bond of their grief, work together to mend the wounds of the past and build a future founded on peace and understanding. In the days and weeks that follow, Verona undergoes a remarkable metamorphosis. The streets, once haunted by the spectre of violence, now thrum with the vibrant energy of reconciliation and renewal. Acts of kindness and compassion become the currency of the day, as the people of Verona come together to heal the scars of their fractured community. And as the city emerges from the shadow of tragedy, a sense of hope begins to take root in the hearts of its inhabitants. The legacy of Romeo and Juliet, two souls lost to the folly of hatred, becomes a beacon of light, guiding Verona towards a future filled with promise and possibility. In the end, amidst the bustling streets of Verona, where once there was only division and discord, statues are erected in honor of Romeo and Juliet. Their love, immortalized in stone, serves as a reminder of the transformative power of forgiveness and the enduring legacy of hope. And as the sun sets on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the city, Verona stands united, a testament to the triumph of love over hate, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Chapter 9: Healing Wounds. In the wake of the long-awaited reconciliation between the Capulets and Montagues, the city of Verona embarks on a journey of healing. The scars left by years of bitter feuding and violence run deep, but the people are determined to overcome the wounds of the past and forge a future founded on unity and compassion. At the heart of this healing process is Friar Lawrence, whose soul bears the weight of the tragedy that befell Romeo and Juliet. Moved by a profound sense of responsibility, he dedicates himself to serving the community with a newfound fervor. Recognizing the need for tangible action, Friar Lawrence establishes a charitable foundation in honor of the young lovers, a beacon of hope in a city still reeling from the aftershocks of their untimely deaths. Through the foundation, Friar Lawrence seeks to address the pressing needs of the less fortunate, providing support and assistance to those who have been marginalized by society. From feeding the hungry to sheltering the homeless, his acts of kindness and generosity serve as a balm for the wounds that afflict Verona, nurturing the seeds of peace and understanding that have begun to take root in the hearts of its inhabitants. As the city gradually emerges from the shadow of its turbulent past, efforts are made to rebuild trust and foster reconciliation among its citizens. Community gatherings and outreach programs become a regular occurrence, providing opportunities for dialogue and cooperation between erstwhile adversaries. Slowly but surely, the walls of distrust and animosity begin to crumble, replaced by a spirit of solidarity and mutual respect. Meanwhile, the Capulet and Montague families join forces to memorialize Romeo and Juliet, the star-crossed lovers whose tragic fate brought about the end of their long-standing feud. Together, they commission a grand monument to be erected in the town square, a testament to the enduring power of love and the possibility of redemption. The monument, crafted with painstaking care and attention to detail, depicts Romeo and Juliet locked in an eternal embrace, their faces radiant with love and serenity. As the citizens of Verona gather to witness its unveiling, a sense of reverence fills the air, mingling with the collective sense of loss that still lingers in their hearts. But amidst the grief, there is also hope, a hope born of the knowledge that, despite the darkness that once threatened to consume them, the people of Verona have emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. And as they gaze upon the monument, a symbol of reconciliation and renewal, they are reminded of the boundless capacity of the human spirit to overcome even the greatest of tragedies. In the end, as the sun sets on the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city of Verona, the legacy of Romeo and Juliet lives on. Their love, immortalized in stone and enshrined in the hearts of all who knew them, serves as a guiding light for future generations, illuminating the path towards a future filled with peace, understanding, and compassion. Chapter 10: Legacy of Love. As the sands of time continue to flow, the story of Romeo and Juliet takes on a life of its own, transcending the boundaries of history to become a timeless legend in the city of Verona. Their tale, a saga of love and tragedy, is passed down from generation to generation, woven into the very fabric of the city's identity. In the years that follow their deaths, Romeo and Juliet's story becomes immortalized in poetry, art, and song, each rendition seeking to capture the beauty and intensity of their love. From the quills of poets to the strokes of painters, their romance inspires countless artists and writers, who seek to evoke the passion and pathos of their ill-fated union. But beyond the realm of artistic expression, Romeo and Juliet's legacy endures in the hearts of the people of Verona. Their story serves as a poignant reminder of the transformative power of love and the imperative of overcoming prejudice and hatred. In a city once torn apart by bitter feuding, their tragic fate becomes a rallying cry for unity and understanding. As the years turn into decades, and the decades into centuries, Verona thrives as a beacon of tolerance and acceptance, guided by the example set by Romeo and Juliet. The wounds of the past heal slowly but surely, replaced by a spirit of inclusivity and compassion that permeates every facet of civic life. And though their lives were cut short by the capricious whims of fate, Romeo and Juliet's love endures as a timeless testament to the enduring power of passion and devotion. In death, they found eternal unity, their spirits forever entwined in the hearts of all who hear their story. In the bustling streets of Verona, where once there was only division and discord, the legend of Romeo and Juliet lives on as a beacon of hope and inspiration. Their names, whispered in hushed reverence, serve as a reminder of the profound impact that love can have on the course of human history. And so, in the city of Verona, where the past and the present converge in a timeless dance, the legacy of Romeo and Juliet endures. Their story, a testament to the triumph of love over adversity, serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope, and that love, in all its forms, has the power to conquer even the greatest of obstacles.